even have to really move the tables that much. We can pull some chairs. Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. You just sit in the chair there.
Guys, you in the back row, could you, if you're not too shy, take a chair and kind of sit in the aisle.
That's how it's to be in this animal farm. Is it some animals are more equal than others?
Always.
I don't know, somebody left their Perrier box.
I believe it was Bruce who's speaking, so go ahead and take a seat. Okay, perfect.
Okay, our next speaker is Bruce Mackenzie. He'll be talking about the kickoff of the Mars Village Design Study Group. Welcome, Bruce.
Yeah, the word village is very flexible, but I wanted to have a, okay, yeah,
We'll end up in that chair there if you want.
yeah,
Or
so-
you can just stand.
So I wanted to have a meeting of people who wanted to do something related to settlement design. And the word village was chosen partly to distinguish it from the contest that's going on right now. Okay, I have this one slide here, which is the sort of thing I had in mind. So basically, do we want to get a group together that is interested in permanent settlement and willing to do work? And it could be editing something online, could be something related to Marspedia, but settlement, permanent settlement. We could just have weekly chats on telecons. We could invite guest speakers to give webinars. We could actually put together a design group and start drawing, where do you put the hab, where do you put the kitchen, where do you put the farm, where do you put the power plant. We could critique other people's designs. So if another contest gets announced, we could be a resource for those teams. We could also be a resource for people who want to join teams or form teams. These are just ideas, and I wanted to instigate the meeting and see what happens among you guys. Let's see, what else do I have up there? Artwork, archive. Okay, communicate at minimum via email, but probably something else. Maybe a collaborative web service like Slack or Basecamp. Quick question, yeah.
Could we do that in combination with the Mars Talks website so that we could just put our stuff on their forum?
Yeah, there are multiple websites. Do you mean New Mars? Or
I mean marstalks.org, the place who does the Mars podcasts. I participated in one of those with Jim and Chris.
Yes, we could.
Okay.
And this is a Mars Society convention, but it may be, we may want to open it up for anybody. We may want to actively approach other organizations. I'm the founder of Mars Foundation, and we have done similar work, but in very small groups. And I think it's time for the Mars Society as a whole to get more active in this, especially with the contest.
Just going on right now?
Yeah, unfortunately. I tried to slip over and see Kent's talk and run back. Yeah. Come on in, folks. Try to sit pull some chairs into the aisle, and you can sit back here, too. Oh, okay, so by the way, I'm Bruce Mackenzie. There's my email address and most of my phone number.
You have the last four of your phone number?
Writer?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
It's also on the slide.
yeah, it's on the slide.
I got interrupted by the microphone. Okay. So many years ago, very early in the Mars Society formation, I asked Bob Zubrin, why don't we work on all aspects of humans on Mars, starting with the first mission all the way to settlements and growing and whatnot. And the general consensus within the Mars Society was to focus on the first human mission. I mean, not push anybody away. Anybody's welcome to do things. We're interested in current robotic missions. We're interested in geology, etc. But especially focus on the very first current mission. And how many years ago was that? When was the Mars Society formed?
1998.
98. Okay, so subtract 21 years.
Yeah, the last century.
Yeah. Oh, I said that in a meeting. I said last decade. I corrected myself. Last century, last millennia. The Mars Society was formed in the previous millennia, and with SpaceX and Elon getting worldwide publicity, we're no longer afraid to talk about settlement. I first presented things called One Way to Mars, and if I presented them outside of a friendly audience, outside of Mars Society audience, I had to justify it, and people were really giving me, what? Why would you never come home? So I think society is ready for this. I think the Mars Society is ready for this, and I think the technology is ready for it. Okay, let me flip through my other slides, and then we'll break it up and just talk. Okay, so several years ago, I was approached by somebody who said, I want to design a permanent settlement, and I have this amount of money, and I'm going to go out and hire some NASA contractors. It was like only a few $1,000s, and he was saying, would you do a study on entry, descent, and landing for me for only $500 or only $1,000? And I convinced him, no, do it under a nonprofit and get free labor and use the money for publicity or whatever. And anyway, some of what I'm going to show you was the result of that. We formed a separate organization called Mars Foundation and Mars Homestead Project. Okay, so that first picture up in the upper right, we put together a design group of about a dozen people. I showed them that picture and said, let's take a fabrication tent to Mars, let's take a couple little laboratories, an airlock, and some trucks. And we'll manufacture trailers, and then we'll manufacture more habitats. So this was the straw man proposal. And that group of 12 came up with the next image. Okay, so challenged with the top image, they came up with the next image, which we call the Hillside Settlement. And we have a 100-page report, which unfortunately still is not finished. Bart and I got enthusiastic this fall and are going to try to finish it. And then I think everybody recognizes Elon's proposal, million-person city. Well, the artist just took little shapes and pasted them on. Okay, within SpaceX, they didn't have enough time to do any more than back of the envelope, is it possible? Okay, so here's the Hillside Settlement. It was to be built by 12 people and grow for an additional 12 people every 2 years, masonry, fiberglass. There's the people involved. Okay, I just said that. This was the original masonry design. It's really not cost effective for 12 people. You really want a big city block with multiple stories. The thing is, you have to put about 5 to 10 meters of dirt on the roof in order to hold the roof down. But no matter how many floors you have, it's the same amount of dirt. So this is going to be a really cheap way to build a 10-story office building. But so how does all this stuff fit? I'm almost done. Just wait.
Dirt's not the only way.
Okay. Here's a blow-up of the Hillside Settlement design, the bedrooms, kitchen. We laid it all out. We worked on the mass and energy requirements. Here's just one of many slides out of it. Here's some of the electrical energy. Turned out we needed more heat energy than electrical energy. Water recycling. Each of these has a paper or a chapter or a PowerPoint behind it. And here's another design. And I'm going to leave the first slide visible. Okay, it's open for comments.
Are you thinking of having a kind of generic plan? Or in addition to have, let's say, an application of that to some specific location on Mars, like you did with your study up on the top there?
Yeah, so the question is generic plan or what? No, what I want to do is get people together who want to be involved in some way. And some of us might go off and make a plan, but others of us might make a list of all the technologies. Others of us might make YouTube videos. I'm more concerned about the getting a group of people together, and then some of them might go off and make a plan. You'll make a specific plan. Yeah. Oh, would everybody say their name? Hey, I'm Bruce.
Yeah, I'm Wayne Taylor.
Wayne.
I'm Craig. Some of them might be more photogenic than you and I, Bruce.
Yes.
And about the information that you just showed us up there, which is part of this plan that has been unpublished, is there a way that we can quickly get our writers and editors and engineers together and get that into something that can be published in a fairly rapid fashion, version 1, and then we look at updating it later?
Okay. So this plan I talked about that was never published, never really finished. By the way, some of the volunteers lost interest before they wrote their chapter. One of them even died. I'm sorry.
That's a very terrible loss.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was Richard Sylvan. He was an oncology doctor and he died of cancer. And, yeah.
Wow, isn't that karma?
Yeah, just a minute. Okay, but Bart and I will be working on it with about 2 or 3 other people. And it's not the kind of thing that you benefit from having more than 6 working on. We could farm out chapters to a large number of people. But
Are there any chapters of significance like Silva's chapter that are still missing that could be written by somebody else of relevant expertise?
yeah, yes. Would people put their email address, name, and if you want to put a phone number? And this pin is not good.
I got another one.
Yeah,
I'm Kelly Bishop.
Kelly.
We have to look at those as for what they are. The author of all of those had an objective. And the top one was, I'm an engineer and I want to show these. And the next one, and the city, it's beautiful. I have that printed out at home. I think it's wonderful. But we're never going to build that. We're going to bury stuff. But if I put a buried city there, everybody go, what's that? So if we approach it from that perspective, it's probably more likely to succeed. Okay, you're likely to attract more ants with honey than with vinegar. And the other thing I saw was I think it's too compact, the bottom one. You want your rocket point to be much further away. And I suspect that the right side is really the solar panels.
Yeah, okay, so just for the microphone, you're saying that you're critiquing Elon's
That's right.
Space City.
And I hope
yes,
he has some skin on his
it's very hard to make a buried city look photogenic.
That's exactly right.
Georgi Petrov, who did the middle design with us, has cutaway views.
Yeah.
And that helps. And there's the one inside the masonry that helps. But more to the point is, rather than critiquing that design, let's get a group together that will continue to critique month after month.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Okay, and your name?
Cat.
Cat. Okay. Any particular things you especially appeal to you?
I think just that the concept of planning and designing, whether it be an interior, like layout of different people's living spaces or working spaces, or whether it be the overall layout generally, and what will work and what's the most efficient and what could be the most ideal. I'm interested in all that. That helps.
Yay. We have 2 members now. I really wanted a room that didn't have computer screens. So guys, please come into the aisle. Somebody sit here.
Let's fire.
The guy who's hiding behind 3 rows of computer screens. What's your name?
My name's Matt. I was wondering though, why?
Matt. We should have more Matts in the movies on Mars.
Wow, thank you. Appreciate that. I'll get a little nervous though, because then maybe I gotta follow somebody's footsteps and not make my own. But my point is, do you see the Mars settlement being a one place or multiple places? Like, can we use the same design as a modular design across the board? So when you fly into Mars, you're like, I want to go to the north side, west side, east side, south side. Like, do you see this as a one-off or as a multiple settlement destination, I guess?
Okay. So for the microphone, Matt's question is: do we see a one location settlement, or spawning more settlements? Multiple settlements around.
Should we do them all at the same time? Is what I'm asking.
2 answers. I see one central manufacturing base as long as you have chosen a good location, and then make prefab units and truck them around the planet. Okay, especially north and south. And if you saw me yesterday, I want to have a chemical plant far toward the pole, and I want to have a launch site on the equator. But my second answer is, rather than talking about that, how do we structure the group so we keep talking about it beyond this hour? Do people want telecons? Do they want webinars? Do they, do we want little tiny working groups? Do we want to edit Marspedia?
Personally, I like reading. So
You say you like reading?
I like reading. So give me
Okay.
a book.
Do you want a book club?
That's it. That kind of thing. Yeah. That'd be
Okay. Who's in favor of a book club where everybody reads the same book? 3 of us. 4 of us. Okay.
But don't we need to have conversations?
I can tell you a big challenge for a book club. Kim Stanley Robinson wrote Red Mars, and then he wrote Green and Blue Mars. And the way, did anybody hear this before that he was given conference proceedings?
What?
Okay. So there was the Case for Mars number 2 and number 3 conferences. They predate the Mars Society. Bob Zubrin named his first book after those conferences. They were so inspirational. And the Case for Mars 2 conference was almost 2 inches thick, the proceedings. Case for Mars 3 conference was 2 volumes. Okay, somebody gave those 3 volumes to Kim Stanley Robinson. He read them cover to cover, and then he set them aside. Didn't do anything for a year, and then suddenly he wrote Red Mars. And I went through that. As I was reading Red Mars, he incorporated a good 20 ideas out of those conference proceedings, including my masonry vault thing. So if you read Red Mars, Underhill was my design, and the big geothermal holes was somebody else wrote a paper for those. The dirigibles, somebody else wrote a paper on those. Seeding the algae was from another paper. So we could, if anybody wants to go back and read Red Mars and correlate them to the table of contents of those conference proceedings, that'd be a valuable thing. Now, it's dated, and people don't like to read old novels. They're kind of out of style.
What about we have current events where we talk about, as you have said, the other designs that are out there that are coming out day by day, and we have a engineering type philosophy where we say, if you're going to build a manufacturing facility, we suggest you consider these things. And what about an artistic or design point of view where you say, these are the ideas of what we think the most beautiful Mars home would look like? Because there are many different approaches to how you look at settlements. And I look at it from an engineering perspective, But I have to tell you, some of the design perspectives are just so beautiful that why would you not want to live there? So I think each of those perspectives has its different audience, and if we can play to each of those audiences. And I just want to add one thing because it bugs me, is 4 years ago, we published Armor Hab DRA, and you can put electromagnetic shielding on your buildings so that you don't have to bury them. So buried, while it's cheap, is not necessarily the way to go, particularly if you want to have some of these beautiful designs that are sitting out there on the empty Mars landscape that are just to die for visually. There's no reason that you have to die of radiation simply because you put it out there and didn't bury it.
That was Matt. I'm going to try to get other people to talk more and more, so be prepared to critique each other. So, I'm sorry, you're Craig. And
Yes.
Matt, you had a content.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
had a question,
I was,
and then you're next.
I was curious
Ma'am.
about entertainment centers. Is that a factor in this settlement, or is this like entertainment being we have a Staples Center here for ice hockey, we have a sports center kind of thing. Is this
If it's part of settlement, yeah.
okay?
Now, we could extend it to entertainment centers on Earth that promote Mars settlement.
Okay.
And ma'am, you had your hand up?
Oh, I'm Bonnie.
Bonnie.
Yeah, I edited.
Oh, Bonnie Vaughn.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, hi.
But I wasn't able to edit the pictures because I didn't have the right software. You still need to edit.
Yeah.
Did you mean red Mars, green Mars, and blue Mars, or just red
Kim
Mars?
Stanley.
Well, Kim Stanley Robinson,
I know,
also known
but
as
you mean
KSL.
all three books.
Okay, I read Red Mars cover to cover, and I made notes in the back of what technologies I recognized and where he referenced me, and it was a lot. And then I got halfway through Green Mars, and I had trouble finishing it. So, but most of the conference proceedings, I think, were in Red Mars, the first of the three of the trilogy.
Could you give her your notes?
Yeah, they
You were gonna volunteer me.
yeah, they're all handwritten inside the cover. Yeah.
Do you write in scribble or you write in?
Yeah.
What size population are you
Your
talking about?
name?
My name is Paul.
Paul.
I'm asking what size population would be appropriate for the little community like that? It looks kind of small to me.
Well,
from here.
okay, but I would throw that to the group. What size, if those of you who want to design a community, what size population do you want to design? You know, a 100-person village, you want to enter the the 1,000-person settlement contest. So, what size are people interested in?
I think 1,000 people
1,000 people?
is about right, but it's gonna be quite a while.
I also think though a 3/4 like turnover rate where you keep about 200 people there as a continual between transit time.
Okay, I'm going to put you guys on the spot. Has everybody signed, given an email address that wants to? Okay, would someone over here please make a comment? The room's too quiet.
Whatever the number is, it's gotta be enough people for a self-supporting, viable community.
Self-supporting. And your name?
I'm John.
John? Anybody else I can put on the spot?
I'll say something.
Okay.
So I think as part of the design, in addition to how many, we should also have what skills, right? So if it's, let's just say it's 100 or it's 1,000, we have doctors, right? There has to be a balance to some extent of skill sets unless there's no health issues at all or whatever. There has to be a balanced society in its own right.
Okay. So skill sets, and remind everybody your name again.
This cat.
Cat, I already forgot.
So the design is
so-
the people itself.
So should we have a Google Doc or a Marspedia webpage where we list skill sets needed and anybody can add? I'm trying to get you back to forming a group rather than working on a problem.
I know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Is the next speaker here? Next
Yes,
speaker?
also,
Okay. Hey, sir, come on up and load your PowerPoint and pretend we're not here. Really, get ready as fast as you can. You're on in 1 minute.
No pressure.
Your name.
Zoltan. And I guess I'm listening to all of this and what's, not to be off center or anything, but what's the point of that particular village, city, town, whatever? Because what skills you need, how many people you expect to be there, what is that town supposed to be doing or supporting?
And what's the focus of that?
Yeah.
Is it settlement?
Okay, so to repeat his statement is, when designing a settlement, you have to know what the purpose of the settlement is, the focus, before you really do anything. And do we want to spin off multiple design groups for different size, for different purposes? You know, do we want to design a mining camp and a farming village and by the way, Plastic City, USA is about 30 miles west of my home.
I guess I would suggest that we don't want to fragment too much. Maybe we pick one or two things that we want to use to test the concept and get everybody rolling, and then we can reassess as we go forward.
Okay. I keep trying to pull the conversation back in. Do we want to form a group? How would the group run? What do we talk about? What do we do? And everybody seems to think we're designing a settlement. So should I give in and just say we're going to design a settlement?
Yes.
Yes.
I like, you know, the idea.
Okay, we have a suggestion to design 3 settlements, small, medium,
Small,
large.
medium, and large.
How about starting with the 1,000-person
Yeah.
medium one as a focus, and then we can branch out from there, sort of.
I strongly suggest that we don't fragment too much because we'll never get anything done, but there won't be enough people to go in that many directions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, so-
1,000 is a good start.
So one person is saying small, medium, large. Another person is saying don't fragment.
And I concur that maybe we just select one and start 1,000.
Right.
I see a
What about
circle,
you, John?
I see a circle,
Yeah.
and then broken down as different settlements around that circle, where everybody can react according to the needs of the communities. Each one is a separate community, you know, they have certain things, and they're not too far apart from each other, they're not to communicate with each other, to go and get what they need, resources.
Okay, so John is saying a circle of communities with different resources.
So we're gonna need to wrap it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I like your idea of having that Google Doc with all of the names gathered, and then we can each go in and fill in our expertise.
Let me do some graphics. You got the equator and Phobos Mountain, put a catapult there launching to a space tether coming down from Phobos. Put your manufacturing city here, have some geologic exploration in Valles Marineras, and a plastic city down at the ice cap. And we need a road between them. So we can design all those settlements. I've thought of this a long time. Okay,